The afternoon sun filtered to the cafe windows in ribbons of gold. I sat at my usual corner table, waiting for Vanessa to meet me for lunch. We'd been married 7 years. 7 good years. Or so I thought. My name is Adrian Cole. I'm 36 years old, and on that Tuesday afternoon, I was about to discover that everything I built, everything I believed in, was a house of cards waiting for someone to blow. The bell above the cafe door chimed. I looked up, smiling. My smile froze. She wasn't alone. Vanessa sat down across from a man I recognized immediately, Ryan Cooper, her college boyfriend. The one she told me was just a marketing consultant helping with her company projects. The one I'd asked about 3 months ago, after catching them talking outside her office building. "You're being paranoid, Adrian," she'd said, her voice dripping with that particular brand of gaslighting she perfected. "He's helping me with work. That's all." But watching them now, her hand in his, her head tilted back in laughter, that laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in over a year, I realized she'd been lying all along. I stood without thinking. The coffee I'd been holding clattered to the floor. Their heads turned toward me simultaneously. Vanessa's expression shifted from shock to something colder, calculated. "Adrian," she said, her voice syrupy sweet, but her eyes sharp as glass. "Didn't expect you here." Ryan smiled, that victorious, territorial smile of a man who'd won something he hadn't earned. My blood boiled so intensely I thought I might combust. Every fiber of my being screamed to grab her, to shake her, to demand she remember who I was. But I couldn't move. My mind went blank. My chest felt like it had been slammed by a truck. I was just leaving. I managed. I turned and walked out before either of them could respond. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely grip my car keys. The drive home took 20 minutes. It felt like 20 hours. I kept thinking about Sophie, my daughter, 8 years old, the light of my life, the girl who drew pictures of our family and titled them Daddy and Mommy Forever in her careful, childish scrawl. How was I to tell her that forever had just become a lie? I pulled into the driveway of our suburban home, the one I'd helped renovate, the one Vanessa had decorated, the one that was supposed to be our sanctuary. The house was quiet, too empty. Her car was gone from the garage. I walked inside. The kitchen smelled like nothing. The counter was bare except for an envelope with my name written in her familiar handwriting. My stomach dropped even further than I thought possible. "Adrian, I need more than this. More than a comfortable life. More than someone who just accepts things. Ryan makes me feel alive. I'm going to be with him. Take care of Sophie. I'll visit when I can. I've arranged for you to have primary custody. My lawyer will contact you about support. Vanessa," I read it 3 times. 4 times. The words didn't change, no matter how many times I read them. That night, I sat on the couch in the dark for hours. Sophie was at my mother's. Vanessa had dropped her there that morning, claiming she had a work emergency. No emergency, just an escape plan. At 9 p.m., I called my mother. "Can Sophie stay another night?" "Of course, sweetheart. Is everything all right?" I couldn't answer. If I spoke, I would break. Sophie called me at 10 p.m. "Daddy, where's Mommy?" "Grandma said Mommy's not coming to get me. Mommy's busy with work. Baby, she'll call you soon." There was a long pause. Then in a small voice, "Then why didn't you say goodbye?" I couldn't answer. My throat was on fire. I told her I loved her, that I'd pick her up tomorrow, and I hung up before I started crying. That night, I looked at the drawing on the refrigerator again. Daddy and Mommy Forever. I didn't tear it down. I couldn't. That drawing was the last evidence that she loved us, even if it was just pretend. The office at Mercer and Associates was where I'd worked for 11 years. It was a good job, senior analyst, stable income. I was good at what I did. I could spot financial inconsistencies, predict market trends, build strategies that worked. But I was invisible. That had never bothered me until Vanessa took the position there 6 months ago, senior marketing director. Suddenly, she was everything I wasn't: loud, ambitious, charming. Everyone loved her immediately. And me? I became even more invisible. The whispers started almost immediately after she came home that first week. Your co-worker Ryan is gorgeous, I'd said casually over dinner. Does he work in your department? He's helping with a campaign, Vanessa said, not looking up from her phone. Why? Are you jealous? No, I'm just asking. You're always asking. It's exhausting, Adrian. You always overreact. But I wasn't overreacting. I was seeing things clearly for the first time. Ryan Cooper arrived at the company 2 weeks after Vanessa. He was hired as a strategic marketing consultant. Coincidence? I didn't think so. I'd watched them before Vanessa left. The way she'd lean in when he talked. The way she'd laugh at his jokes. Jokes she never laughed at when they came from me. 3 weeks before she left, I saw them outside her office building. I'd come to pick her up early because Sophie had gotten sick at school. They were standing in the shadows of the parking structure, and he was kissing her. Not a peck. A real kiss. Her hand was on his chest. When I confronted her that night, she gaslit me so completely I started doubting what my own eyes had seen. You're being paranoid, she'd said, her voice dripping with faux concern. You followed me? That's sick, Adrian. That's controlling behavior. I came to pick you up because our daughter was sick. You think you saw something. You always imagine things. You overreact. You're too sensitive. Your mind is playing tricks on you. And for a moment, just a moment, I believed her. After Vanessa left, the office became a minefield. The whispers followed me like shadows. Did you hear? Vanessa's really thriving since Ryan came on board. They make quite the team. I heard she left Adrian. Apparently, he couldn't keep up with her ambitions. My colleagues' eyes avoided mine. Some smirked. Others whispered behind my back. I could feel their pity, and the pity was almost worse than the betrayal. Meanwhile, Ryan was ascending the corporate ladder at light speed. Suddenly, he was in meetings I wasn't. Suddenly, his ideas were being praised. Ideas I'd overheard him discussing with Vanessa in the break room. Ideas I recognized from our company strategy sessions. Ideas I'd shared with her. Vanessa orchestrated it perfectly. Within 2 months, Ryan had been promoted twice. Within 4 months, he had his own team. Within 6 months, he was my peer. No, my superior. My manager began sidelining me. Strategic realignment, they called it. Every glance at Vanessa was a dagger. Her smile, sharp. Her eyes cold. I realized too late that the woman I loved had teamed up with him to destroy me. Sophie, in the meantime, was asking about her mother constantly. When is Mommy coming home? She'd ask. Soon, baby. Soon, I'd lie. Vanessa visited 3 times in the first 6 months. 3 times. Each visit left Sophie crying. Each time, she promised to come back for the holidays. Each time, she didn't. I watched my daughter slowly accept that her mother had chosen someone else. The worst part? I was watching the same thing happen to myself, except I was doing it on purpose. Choosing to accept it, choosing to be broken. I spiraled. Nights alone with Sophie, trying to be strong while my inside screamed. Days pretending everything was fine at work while my career evaporated. I became a ghost in my own life. Then came the night Vanessa called. Adrian, don't make this harder than it is, she said breezily, as if she was asking me to pass the salt. Ryan makes me feel alive. I'm happy. I know this is difficult for you, but you need to move on. I wanted to burn something. I wanted to beg her to remember me. I wanted to scream at the universe for being so unfair. Instead, I slammed the phone down. And then I made a decision that would change everything. I hit rock bottom in month 8. I was demoted, pushed to a smaller office, literally a converted storage closet. My salary was cut by 30%. I was given meaningless projects that no one cared about. I watched Ryan get promoted again. I watched Vanessa sit at her desk, pretending nothing had happened, while both of them worked together to erase me from the company. Sophie was my only light. When she'd hug me after school, when she'd tell me about her day, when she'd curl up on the couch and we'd watch movies together. Those moments kept me from disappearing entirely. But I couldn't keep living like this. Broken. Powerless. invisible. One night, after Sophie fell asleep, I sat at my kitchen table with a glass of whiskey and made a choice. I stopped crying, not because I healed, not because the pain went away, but because I decided in that moment, in that dark kitchen, that Vanessa didn't get to define my story anymore. She didn't get to be my ending. I would rebuild. Slowly, quietly, methodically. I began paying attention to everything. Ryan's arrogance, Vanessa's impatience, their overconfidence, the way they'd gotten sloppy now that they thought they'd won, the lies piling up in their reports, the false numbers, the inflated claims. I became two people. By day, the sad ex-husband everyone pitied. By night, the man who was paying attention, documenting everything, every email, every misstep, every lie. I took on small projects that no one noticed, the kind of work that seemed pointless but allowed me to trace patterns, to spot inconsistencies, to gather evidence. Late nights, I built initiatives that quietly fixed the problems Ryan and Vanessa had created. Quietly, efficiently, I regained respect without either of them noticing, because I wasn't working for their recognition anymore. I was working for something bigger. Months passed. Vanessa flaunted her new life with Ryan. They took vacations together. Vanessa changed her desk photo from a family portrait to one of her and Ryan. Sophie saw it when she came to visit, and she didn't say anything, but her eyes went quiet in a way that broke my heart all over again. But I had learned patience from heartbreak. The harder they pushed, the stronger I became. Quietly, strategically, I became indispensable to the company, not in the visible way Ryan was, but in the foundational way. I was a man who fixed things no one knew were broken. Then things started to fall apart for them. Ryan overextended on a major campaign. Numbers that looked good on the surface, but didn't add up when examined closely. Vanessa tried to cover him, feeding the board false data. I had documented everything, every email, every lie, every mistake. My side project started getting attention from the board. Quietly, ethically, the initiatives I'd been building for months began delivering results. Real results. They were impressed by me, while Vanessa still tried to bask in stolen glory. One evening, Mr. Whitman, a senior partner at Mercer & Associates, called me into his office. "Adrian, I need be frank with you," he said, closing the door. "I know what they're doing. The falsified reports. The inflated numbers, the way they've been systematically taking credit for work that belonged to other team members. And I know you've documented it." My heart stopped. "Sir, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm asking if you're willing to help me fix it. We need someone we can trust. Someone intelligent enough to understand the scope of what's happening, but ethical enough to do it right." I nodded slowly. "What do you need?" "Everything you have, and your discretion. No outbursts. No public confrontations. I want this handled professionally. Can you do that?" "Yes," I said. "I can." For the next month, I worked in silence. Every day, Vanessa gaslight and belittle me in meetings. "You're imagining it," she'd whisper to colleagues, loud enough for me to hear. I smiled softly and said nothing. I had learned patience from heartbreak, and that patience was my greatest weapon. I was calm, measured, ready. Then Ryan's campaign went live, a major initiative with falsified data underneath it, inflated numbers, claims that couldn't be verified. I watched in board meetings as scrutiny began to fall on him. His confidence faltered. Numbers didn't match. Promises couldn't be delivered. Vanessa's lips twitched. Her eyes darted. She knew something was wrong. She always knew. But I didn't flinch. I remained calm, patient, ready. The board meeting came on a Thursday in spring. Ryan presented first, his voice confident, his smile predatory. Vanessa sat beside him. Her red lips curled in a smile that said, "We've won. We've taken everything from Adrian, and there's nothing he can do about it." Then Mr. Whitman asked a question that would change everything. "Ryan, can you verify these reports? I'm seeing some inconsistencies in the underlying data." The color drained from Ryan's face. Of course. The data is solid. It's been reviewed." "By whom?" Whitman asked quietly. by Vanessa? Whitman turned to her. Did you personally verify every data point in this report? Vanessa opened her mouth, closed it. I watched as panic bloomed in her eyes. She realized, in that moment, that she was about to lose everything. Adrian, Whitman said, turning to me, you've been working on the financial audits. Care to explain what you found? I stood slowly. My voice, when I spoke, was calm, measured, controlled. For 20 minutes, I walked the board through every falsified number, every inflated claim, every email chain that proved Vanessa and Ryan had deliberately misrepresented data to the company. I wasn't angry. I wasn't vindictive. I was simply a man presenting facts. The truth. Silence fell across the room. Then murmurs. Then shock. Vanessa's face drained the color. She tried to speak, but no words came. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish pulled from water. Ryan's arrogance crumbled in real time. I watched the exact moment he understood he was finished. The board members looked at me with respect I'd never seen directed at me before. I didn't shout. I didn't gloat. I simply explained the truth. That was enough. The board suspended Ryan and Vanessa pending a full investigation. Within a week, both of their positions were terminated. HR informed them that they would not be given severance packages due to gross misconduct and violation of company ethics. Vanessa's smug power evaporated overnight. Every whisper of dominance she'd wielded turned into disbelief. Her allies in the office suddenly couldn't remember her name. Colleagues who had fawned over her stopped returning her calls. I remained standing, calm, collected, powerful yet untouchable. 2 weeks later, the company offered me Ryan's position. I accepted quietly with no celebration, no victory lap, no vindictive comments. Just a simple, thank you. I'm honored to serve the company in this capacity. Let my work speak for itself. 3 months after her suspension, Vanessa came to my house. Sophie was at school. I opened the door to find her standing on my porch, her makeup smudged, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. Adrian, she said, her voice trembling. I made a terrible mistake. Ryan's gone. We didn't work out. He left me when the company fired us. He just left. She stepped closer. I miss Sophie. I miss us. I miss you. Please, Adrian, can we talk about this? Can we try again? I let her speak. I didn't interrupt. I simply looked at her, this woman I'd loved, this woman I'd built a life with, this woman who had chosen ambition and an old flame over her own daughter and her own marriage. My eyes were calm, measured, holding decades of pain and resilience and hard-won peace. When she finished, I spoke softly. You made a choice, Vanessa. Sophie and I made a choice too. We chose each other. We chose to heal. We chose to move forward without you. And now, I'm asking you to respect that choice. You are not part of our story anymore. Adrian, please. Sophie asked about you for 6 months. Every single day. She would sit by the window and ask when you were coming home. Do you know what that was like? Watching my 8-year-old daughter slowly accept that her mother had abandoned her. Vanessa's face crumpled. I was going through something. I was confused. I don't care, I said, and I meant it. I was done explaining my pain to the person who'd caused it. You need to leave. And if you want contact with Sophie, you can discuss that through my lawyer. I closed the door. She stood on the porch for another minute, then left. A week later, Vanessa tried one more time. Not with me, but with the board. She called Mr. Whitman and attempted to plead her case. Her charm, her lies, her manipulation. The same tactics that had worked on me for 7 years. They didn't work. Whitman called me personally to tell me she'd reached out. She's claiming she was coerced by Ryan, that she didn't know what she was doing. It's insulting. I wasn't surprised. Vanessa had always been good at rewriting history. What did you tell her? I asked. That we don't rehire someone who burns a house they built. He said, Adrian, I want you to know, we're not just talking about the falsified reports. We've gone back through her entire tenure here. There are other incidents, other people she's taken credit from, other lies, We're actually reviewing her actions with HR. She may have legal consequences beyond termination. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel angry. I just felt sad for her, sad that she'd chosen this path, sad that she destroyed her own life chasing something that wasn't real. 3 months later, Mercer and Associates held their annual awards ceremony. I walked onto the stage to accept the Executive of the Year award. My team was in the audience, applauding. My mother was there, beaming with pride. And in the front row, right in the middle, was Sophie. She was 8 years old and already showing the kind of strength that would carry her through life. She'd survived her mother's abandonment. She'd survived the painful year of my breakdown. And she'd stood by me through the long months of rebuilding. When I walked off stage, she ran to me and threw her arms around my waist. "Daddy, I'm so proud of you," she shouted. I knelt down and held her close, kissing her hair. "You make me proud, Sophie. Always you, every single day." As I held my daughter, I scanned the room, and there, standing at the back, invisible and powerless, was Vanessa. She was watching her former life happen without her, watching the man she betrayed become something greater, watching her daughter celebrate with someone else's father. No, not someone else's father. Her father. I smiled faintly. Not a smile of victory. Not a smile of triumph. A smile of peace. 6 months later, I walked past a cafe where everything had started. The same cafe where I'd seen Vanessa and Ryan laughing, hands intertwined, as they celebrated their new beginning. I glanced through the window out of habit. Vanessa was sitting alone at a corner table, eyes downcast, coffee untouched in front of her. She'd aged a decade in the past year. Her beauty, that sharp, calculated beauty that had once captivated me, had dulled. She looked hollow, broken. She looked exactly like I'd felt a year and a half ago. I didn't go in. I didn't approach her. I simply kept walking. She was no longer part of my story. Sophie was at school. I was heading to pick her up. Tonight, we were going to get pizza and go to her soccer game. Tomorrow, I was interviewing candidates for new positions in my department, positions where I intended to build something ethical, something real, something that would endure. Everything Vanessa thought she destroyed, I had rebuilt. Not just my career, not just my reputation, my life, my peace, my sense of self. She had left to find happiness, to feel alive, to chase the excitement of a first love resurrected. And I had found everything that actually mattered: my daughter's trust, my own dignity, my integrity, my wholeness. For the first time since I saw Vanessa laughing in that cafe, I felt completely, undeniably whole. And I felt free. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't what you do to someone. It's what you do for yourself. I learned something that changed everything. Respect is non-negotiable. Your worth isn't determined by a promotion, by who believes you first, or by whether the world sees your strength. I proved that silence can be weaponized into strategy, and patience can become power. My story isn't about revenge. It's about remembering who I was when everyone else forgot. If you've been gaslit into invisibility, if you've been made small by someone you loved, let me tell you this. Your silence doesn't make you weak. Your boundaries aren't difficult. They're essential. Your survival, your choice to rebuild, your refusal to break, that makes you extraordinary. Sophie and I aren't special because we won. We're extraordinary because we chose ourselves when no one else did. Subscribe and hit that notification bell for stories about setting boundaries, finding your worth, and transforming humiliation into triumph. Because the real revolution begins when you decide to write your own ending. Your worth was never in question. It was only ever waiting to be remembered.